Get straight into it. Sorry, Steven, but I'll do the intro for you later as we go on board with a few drivers then in one-shot qualifying, making our way into turn number 1 and turn number 2. We'll go board with ILT Bompier because he seems to be in first place. Superbook's got disqualified already, so he must have spun and went the wrong way. But Bompier's in first place, but he misses slightly going into turn number 4 and turn 5. So not the lines he wanted to take going into turn 6, and that was a bit too wide for Het Bompier, so that's his qualifying done and dusted then. Go on board with Pyro, or I don't know who to go on board with, there's so many people. That's the problem with one-shot qualifying. It's like a fruit machine, goes up and down, people going in all sorts of places. But Jeroen Visser then in P1 so far, going into turn number 8 and turn number 9. You can see the back end of the car just sliding just a little bit there going into the corners. You can see there, gets on throttle on the curb, he already loses the back end, and that cost him a little bit of time now because rotation is currently in P1 ahead of Pyro, as Jeroen then was sticking on board with him because I don't want to swap too many people as we go into this double right-hander then. Let's see how he takes this one, drifting it out wide to get a really good exit, very wide indeed. It might cost him a little bit of time there, you don't want to go too wide, especially with the tyres as well overheating and putting extra temperature into those. But going into this left-hander then, using all the exit on the right-hander there. Now he's in P6 is Jeroen Visser, going into the penultimate corner at turn number 13 there, carrying a minute of speed up and into the slow speed corner here, can catch a lot of people out of traction as well. Goes a little bit deep and not get the exit he wants to either as he makes his way towards the line then. So Jeroen Visser puts that AlphaTauri into P8 in the end, and a few people got disqualified from the session, but I believe Pyro took pole position, and that's the problem with one-shot qualifying, it goes too quick. But yeah, welcome back to CRL for round 4 here at Paul Ricard at the French GP. My name is Jamie Morris, and joined with me yet again is Steven.
Thanks for welcoming me, Jamie. After this eventful one-shot qualifying, of course a different session compared to a usual 18-minute qualifying session, but it's still an interesting session to see. And we see Pyro still continuing his great form despite not the greatest result in Monaco. He's still carrying that great momentum he's creating for himself by grabbing pole position for the sprint race here. We haven't mentioned that quite yet, but it is a sprint race here, so it's going to be interesting. There will be 9 laps of immense action here for around the French Grand Prix, and I can't wait for it. What about you, Jamie?
Neither can I, because if you get it wrong in one-shot qualifying, you can always make amends in the sprint race and make up for your positioning on the grid. You don't want to take too many risks, obviously, in the sprint race. And guess what? Talk about risks. It's the rain. So I think one-shot qualifying then was definitely pivotal for all these drivers here tonight to determine where they're going to start in the race. And one-shot qualifying has proven to be the norm here because if you can get higher in one-shot qualifying and try and make up for it in the race and have a good position at the start of the race. But people like Pyro, the top 4 really, they don't want to take too many risks because it could be a dry race, and if it's a wet race here in the sprint race, you don't want to be taking too many risks unless you're at the back of the course or in the midfield. You want to be taking a little bit of risks because obviously you need to make up those positions you lost in one-shot qualifying. One-shot qualifying, you only have one chance, so it's very easy to make mistakes under the immense pressure that the drivers have to face in those tricky conditions. You don't know what the track conditions are like heading to one-shot qualifying. If you make one mistake and that is it, you end up at the back of the field, as most people have, especially Supermug going off at turn number 1, I presume, and going the wrong way, and a few people invalidating their lap times too. But those who cope under pressure the best brings out the best of the drivers, and that's why they're in pole position. So Pyro there in great form, like you said. Not the best run in Monaco, as I think he did score some points, but it was further down than he would have wanted. However, the Ferrari driver in P3, which was Troyer, last week's race winner, has put his car into P3, so that's a great result for him, continuing his fantastic run. And Walter, who hasn't really got his season underway, it's up into P2, so can he finally make amends and make things go his way finally this season? The 2-time champion here in CRL has not had the best races so far. We've only had 3 races so far. This is the 4th one, so after 3 bad races, can he finally justify that? And same with Jeroen Visser in P8 as well. Those two desperately need some good results, because predictions this season for me, before the season started, is that Wout and Jeroen was going to be up there fighting and just running away with it, but not proven to be so far. But there's still plenty of races left in the session then, in this season, sorry, as majority of the drivers are on the intermediate tyres, and this is going to be a very adjusted race. How many risks are the people going to take here around the French GP, especially to go to the guys at the back? They have to, really.
Well, it's going to be interesting sprint race to say the least, as we see Pyro nearly brake checking Wout here. We see one car already being disqualified from the formation lap, which is rectify here. I wouldn't expect too many risks here. Of course, you want to gain as many positions as you could here for the actual race here, but you want to keep your car around the same position you have currently, but for the cars outside the top 10, I'm guessing they're gonna go full guns blazing to gain as many positions as possible. Update on Supermug, he did have a qualifying ban, but because other guys also invalidate on their run, that means he has jumped positions from actually the last place, as he's actually now been disqualified with Leroy now. So yeah, Supermug gained Arif 5 positions without really having to do anything here, but with it being a red race, I think people will just take a careful approach, and the guys outside the top 10 will try to gain as many positions as possible.
Indeed, mate. Welcome to everybody who's just tuning in for the stream. It is a sprint race, so there's 9 laps in this race, and the actual race, I can't remember how many laps they're actually going to be. I think it was 20, over 20 something, but yeah, Troy A's just got disqualified. 27, thank you, Stevan. And Reservoir, last week's pole sitter, has ended up down in P18 and disqualified, like you said. His teammate, however, raising the bar yet again and up into P3. So I think he was second last time out in Monaco in qualifying, but he's in P3. But can he make up for it in the sprint race? I wonder. Let's see how the sprint race is going to go. How many people could be struggling to start the race with traction, I wonder. It's going to be very interesting to see how the start turns out. That could be the main one of them all. The lights are out, and let's see who gets the better start. The Red Bull in P4 rotation gets a really good start off the line. I want to see if he's going to make up for 2 positions. He's made one on Troy A, but Troy A's got it back. He's going to go down the inside of Walter. There's an Alpine on the inside. That is Aurelan. We've seen how those 3 go wide in Brazil so far this season. It's gone out well, but it looks like it all turned out well this time round, and they remain as they are. Aurelan then, he's moved up into P3 ahead of rotation. Troy A has moved up back into P5, and there's squirming for position further down. Both AlphaTauris. Drew's gone off the track. He's got tagged by the Williams there, and he's lost his own play for good measure too. As the McLaren goes down the inside, Troy A has got back rotation. He's up into P4. More carnage in the midfield. Chirufaza has been tagged by Mercedes once again, unfortunately for him, and he's going to drop all the way down the field. And sadly for him, his races are going downhill ever since the first race of the season. But the Red Bull of rotation fights it back. Troy A. He's going to make a move down the inside. No, he's too far back, but he's going to make the move anyway. No, he doesn't. And Troy A has the outside line. I thought rotation was sent one up the inside there, but he was just further back, and Troy A was further later on the brakes. As QRT Leroy has got a 5-second time penalty, and look at Leroy going past the McLaren, just swooped past him there. With better traction for QRT Leroy, as Pyro's been overtaken by Walter. Was not expecting that going up there, but he's done it anyway. Has Walter taking first place away from our championship leader? Must have outdragged him all the way towards turn number 12, but he's gone off the track as Walter. It's Pyro gonna make a move back down the inside and go. It's wheel to wheel coming out on the slow speed corner, turn number 12 there, but Pyro gets out of shape, and Walter's able to take that first place, or stays in first place. But Pyro has made a mistake, and now he's allowed Aurelan. He's really struggling for traction as Pyro, and he might lose a position to Troy A because he's struggling more in the final corner. But nevertheless, he makes it out in P3 still. Unfortunately, just dropped 2 positions. Be very careful. It is the sprint race. You can't afford to take too many risks here. Remember, the actual race could be dry, and if he makes mistakes now in the rain, having a dry race could really impact his results.
Totally, indeed. Pyro tried to go for the move there down the inside about. The drivers were so close to each other. That reminds me of Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna running alongside each other and nearly banging wheels here. But both drivers didn't spin out, thankfully. But then the corner afterwards, Pyro just made a slight mistake running wide, which led to Aurelan going up to second place there. And Pyro just needs to take a careful approach here, keep P3 here, and not fall behind too many positions, because he wants to be in the mix for the feature race, for the actual race, and not lose too many positions in the sprint race here. But it's still a solid start here. Wouter back up in the front here, as he said, a difficult start to the season here, but he's back up fighting for the front, at least for the moment. He's doing a very good performance. Shame for Viva Jeroen, who's just had a awful season so far, just being taken out pretty much in every race here. So just incidents outside of his control here as he's running wide now. So disaster of a season right now, but hopefully he can turn it around.
And Nelisafu has gone for a little spin there, coming out of the right-hander, must have lost traction, has made his way to the left-hander, lost a few positions, but Troye is right on the rear. Oh, somebody's spun, but I can't watch it. Pyro is under attack by the Ferrari of Troye, but he has the inside line, and Troye, I think he might have lost traction or got tagged by Rotation, because Rotation was up his rear end and now going side by side, both trading the ERS to try and get ahead of each other. But who has the best straight line speed? It looks like the Ferrari, but Rotation has the inside line going into turn number 1 here. Which one of them's going to have to yield? On board has to get so close once again. Troye has the inside line for the next corner, but they both make it out side by side once again. Is Troye going to go back down the inside, going into turn number 3? No, he slots in behind the Red Bull there. That was fantastic racing in the wet conditions for both of them, displaying some really good driving from the pair of them there. Going side by side, maybe making contact, but nevertheless not taking each other out, and Rotation wins in the end ahead of Troye. Might have tagged him in the last corner, did Rotation, or was it Troye who lost traction coming out the final corner? But regardless of what happened there, you can see Troye there weaving left to right. I'm not quite sure what that's about, but might not be happy or something like that. Maybe he feels frustrated from what happened in the last corner there. He was right at the back of the Williams in the last corner. Pyro must have made another mistake yet again. He did struggle there the previous laps, and Troye was able to take advantage of that, but ended up being attacked by Rotation instead. However, I said someone spun in the background. I think they saved the car. I think it was on board with the Alpha driver or a Ferrari driver, because I did see somebody going sideways before I went on board with Pyro and Rotation, but they must have saved it in the end, whoever it was, Leroy, Resify or Liam.
Could very much be the case here, but overall I think drivers are now starting to settle down into the race here after this gap starting to appear here. Pyro is outside the 1 second window, which of course doesn't really matter since there's no DRS activated in the rain, but he is starting to lose time to the leaders here. Wouter in very much control here, having 90% DRS compared to Aurelian's 30% right now, and Wouter even sets the fastest lap without having to use ERS, so Wouter is in good control right now here. Well, apart from I think everyone's just settling into the sprint race here, not taking too many risks now, and potentially keeping position right here.
So he's having a good race as well. Orvielan in second place, desperately needs a good result. Didn't have the best look out of China or Brazil, especially that first corner, because they were going 4 abreast in there, involving Wouter, Orvielan and Troye for good measure too, and they all went into contact with each other. But yeah, Orvielan's another driver that desperately needs a good result here tonight's race. I'm not quite sure what happened in Monaco. Did he was he here in Monaco last week?
Who was? Sorry?
Orvielan in P2.
Aurelian wasn't in Monaco, unfortunately. Let me quickly check as you just continue with commentary.
Yeah, because I know the Brazilian GP, there was first corner mayhem. I think it was after the safety car when they were all going 4 abreast into turn number 1. And Troye is right in the rear yet again of Rotation, but he's in the slipstream pursuing Pyro. Pyro is struggling, but Rotation's gone off the track slightly. I hope he didn't pick up a warning there. But he's keeping Troye at bay. Rotation is attacking and defending. Troye looks like he's got some decent pace, making amends after losing 2 positions at the start of the race there. But can he make those positions back up? He tried to move on Pyro, but ended up being in the clutches of Rotation, who was able to take advantage of him going side by side. But it looks like Pyro really does struggle in that last sector there. He's all over the place, so he needs to keep an eye on that to keep Rotation and Troye behind. Remember, it could be a dry race in the future race. He doesn't want to lose too many positions and just keep it nice and tidy on the track. Don't want to take too many risks in this sprint race, especially being a championship leader as well in this season. Been a good few races for Pyro so far. Rotation's gone deep into turn number 1, might compromise him into turn number 2, but he still keeps Troye at bay. And Jack in P6, he done a very good job so far. He's got C for company, well, he's 1.1 seconds back anyhow, and he's got Nathan behind him. But Jack, the star in Monaco, keeping a lot of drivers behind on all the tyres. He's caused a big train in the Monaco GP, caused a lot of headaches, especially for the likes of Supermonk, who was desperately trying to get past for a podium, and AJ2. But they ended up making mistakes themselves. But Jack, he retired in Monaco. I think he still scored some points because he was in the top 12 when he did it. But he's currently in P6. And talk about Jack, I remember certain someone talk about rain in Monaco, but it never happened. But it is raining here in France.
I think there was a slight delay indeed in the rain here, but overall decent race so far. AJ P9 very close to his brother ahead, following the Alpha Tauri here. 3 tenths only behind, as Nathan seems to be struggling a little bit to catch up to Seep. AJ, who recently had his first no assist race in IKR, is now also racing, of course, in Tier 1 here, and he seems to be doing fine within the top 10 here and pushing quite hard to get up to P8, but also has another Alpine. It's got an Alpine following him by Supermug, who's made a decent start up to P10 now. And you know Supermug can go for a ambitious move here. And also you have the prancing horse of Arrestify here following for P8 here for the battle in P8. So it's going to be interesting to say the least here, but I don't think we see too many position changes now.
3 laps left to go in this sprint race here, and it's been an interesting one so far. O'Reilly is still keeping the back of Walter, but Walter, it looks like he's got this all under control. Just needs to keep it nice and tidy, make sure he doesn't get any bad exits whatsoever, otherwise O'Reilly can pounce on him. But looks like Nathan's struggling a bit. He has gone offline in certain parts of the track. It must be the no assist like you were talking about, and AJ is right behind him as well, followed by the Alpine and the Ferrari like you said, so Nathan's going to watch out for that as well. But he had a good race. He's had a few bad starts to the season, has Nathan and AJ for sure. AJ could have got a podium back at the Monaco Grand Prix, anybody could, but they all made mistakes of their own, and yeah, Supermug taking a lot of curb there, gets out of shape, and that's allowing Reservoir to get really close as well, but he stays back for the time being. I noticed Choi at the previous lap, he going through the high-speed corners there, he looks like he's got a lot more downforce in comparison to rotation, and you can see him getting really close to the back on previous lap. Choi almost looked like he was about to make an overtake on rotation, but rotation had the racing line just a bit too further ahead for Choi's liking. You can see him Choi taking different lines. He's very confident doing that, and so not losing the rear end of the car is the Ferrari driver, but yet again there's no way past, and he's stuck behind rotation and Pyro. Must be frustrated knowing that he started P3 and down into P5. But rotation did get a good start, like the Alpine driver in P2 of Aurelian in P2. Got a fantastic start, was able to go up the inside of both of them and take P2 away from Pyro rotation. And Troy's trying to make up for that, but he just can't quite do so. Following the back in a train of himself. He looks like he gets decent exits now and then, as Kyle has picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently in P19, not having the best of starts either, and it looks like he made a pit stop along with Liam and Jeroen down there P16, P17, P18 and P19. Welcome everybody who's just tuned into the stream. Probably finishing up tier 2 and now for the tier 1 action. You missed us so far. Been quite a good action between these guys here, especially Troye and rotation going side by side through almost the first sector. And Troye is on the back of the Red Bull, but he is running out of EOS, is the Ferrari driver, so will not be able to make a move on the straight. And rotation's gone deep. Will it compromise him into the next corner? Might do so, but not enough though to merit a response for Troye to overtake. Unless he might get him here, of course, because he has been quick at this part of the track as Troye, has able to carry a lot more speed, as Ken has overtaken Bompier for P13. They were going side by side, I think those two are. Just want to keep it up for P4, P5, and Troye getting ever so close to the back of the Red Bull there, but just can't seem to find a way past him. Bide his time, wait patiently, unless he makes a mistake, of course. But you can see him carrying different lines into each corner. Back in the car, just stepping out a bit as he applies traction. But yeah, I think Bompier stays into P13. Pyro's gone wide. Is rotation going to go up the inside? No, he's not. He stays behind on that occasion. But looks like Ken and Bompier have sorted their battle out for P13 and P14. Ken is all over the back of the Haas. I remember those two fighting in the other race as well. Monaco, Haas and Mercedes were fighting each other all race long, and the Haas was actually holding up the Mercedes for quite a long time. But Ken's made a mistake. Ken has been overtaken by Nelly Safu, who's been himself up into P14 now. So that mistake there, getting on the throttle way too early, lose the back end of the car, has cost him, as Orvine is all over the back of Walter. So this could be very interesting last few laps. As Orvine decides to finally make a challenge on Walter the last 2 laps of this race, we'll find out. We'll go on board with him, see what happens. You can see he uses a lot of EOS in his tank, and Walter's got way more, so there's no chance for him to make an overtake on the straight. Walter's just pulling away, despite already been in the slipstream. But here comes Troye then on the Red Bull rotation. Which one's going to be late on the brakes? It's rotation, but does he go deep like last time? No, he doesn't. He stays in P4 then. Troye then will have to try it inside if he can.
A lovely battle between the Ferrari and the Red Bull here. Rotation last with the late breakers here. only just about made the corner here, but managed to stay ahead of the Ferrari here. Awesome battling here we're seeing in the sprint race here. Also for Wouter and Aurelian. Aurelian was about 2 tenths to 3 tenths behind him, but just couldn't get a good exit here. And Wouter's really comfortable, to be honest, because Aurelian's got no ERS left, whilst Wouter still has 50% of duties left. So Wouter has never really has never been put in any danger, to be honest, and he's quite comfortable still here. As we go on to the final lap of the sprint race right here, can Troye still make a move as Wout sets a fast lap here, sums up how comfortable he really is at the moment. What can Troye do? Will he risk a P4 start here or keep it in P5 here? As he slightly cut the corner here, rotation with a poor exit has allowed Power to slightly pull away here, so it's going to be close between these two, as Jeroen picks up a 3-second penalty here. Another kind of corner cut here by Troye, at least, I saw on my screen here, but it's going to be close between these guys. What can Troye do? Is he going to have a good exit here, as he's 3 tenths up? It has actually stopped raining now, so the times will calm down here, as we go on to the back straight here with Troye in the slipstream here using the ERS as Kyle retires. Reservoir picks up a penalty. Troye just breaks earlier and most likely will keep P5 here. Got another corner here, so he's probably close on warnings here. Many penalties are coming in now.
Troye desperately trying to overtake rotation, but you got to think about the long-term game as well. He can't afford a 3-second time penalty because Jack's 4 seconds behind, but he can't afford to keep making risks like that. He's trying everything at his disposal to try and make a move on rotation, putting him under massive pressure, but rotation's not falling for it. He's been an experienced driver for a long time as rotation. He knows how to handle the pressure, does the Swedish driver, but Wouter managed to defend. Oh, really? I thought he was going to go up the inside there. That was super close between those two. But Wouter was able to keep O'Reilly at bay for the whole race, and he's going to come across the line to win the sprint race ahead of the LP driver, who finishes in P2. Pyro finishes in P3 ahead of rotation, and Troye finishes in P5, with Jack in P6 ahead of Sieb in P7. Nathan finishes in P8, or does he? Because the Williams is alongside him, and who's going to finish high top? And it is the older brother who finishes ahead of his younger brother, with Supermug just behind him too. That was so close between the line, between all three of them. Even Reservoir in P11, even though he's 3.4 seconds back with the penalty of course as well. Bonpia P12, ahead of Ken, Leroy P14, Yuri P15, Nelly Safu P16, with Liam in P17, and Jeroen Visser not able to make up any positions in the sprint race. But can he make them up in the feature race? I know he's won this race before, Jeroen, a few seasons ago, but it's not going well for him so far.
Well, Jeroen desperately needs a hero drive at the moment, because he's starting P19, am I right?
P18.
Yeah, P18, at least near back, so that's not ideal, but there's still 27 laps after this, as we see here now, the final standings, with Wouter picking up the sprint race win here, just ahead of Aurelian, and Pyro is still on P3, so good starting position here. Rotation managed to defend very well against Troye here, so they managed to keep P4 and 5. Jack finished P6 with C P7. Nathan just ahead of AJ here, 69 thousandths ahead of AJ Nathan finished, and then you had Supermug also 90 thousandths just behind him. Outside the top 10 we have Supermug I mentioned, with Resfai, Bonpia, Ken, Leroy, Yuri in P15, Nilu, Liam, and then Jeroen indeed in P18, and Cal rounding out the grid in P19. But a very enjoyable sprint race, must I add. Good battling, not squeezing each other out too much, and leaving respect on track here. As we see here on race day, we have dry conditions here. It's a bit cloudy, so maybe it could rain in the future, but it looks nice, and looks nice so far, at least.
Thankfully, I'd rather have a wet qualifying and a dry race rather than a dry qualifying than a wet race, because in the wet race, as you've proven there, it can be quite difficult to overtake, can be a little bit boring, but I always prefer a dry race. Well, even in real life, I like a wet race, but It's dry here in Paul Ricard, and we'll see what happens in the next 27 laps around here. Is Walter. O'Reilly was so close, despite being in the dirty air, following Walter the whole race. He was able to keep in touch with them under a second for the whole race. So can he do that same thing, but with the helping hand of DRS as well, and strategy play with it being a feature race? So who's got a shot at winning this race? Is it Walter? Is it Aurelian? Or can it be Pyro? Because he didn't have the pace in the wet. Maybe he had a dry set, or well, mostly they all did because they're able to see the weather. But we'll see what happens then in this 27 lap race. And Walter on pole position then, ahead of the Frenchman in P2 at his home Grand Prix, so we're hoping to win that one. Pyro in P3 with rotation, showing good performance in P4, not had the best of races as you've proven speed last season. Spent most of the time at the back, getting just adjusted to his wheel, but looks like he's just adjusted to it now, and he's finally found his rhythm and able to get back up there. CPI Troye, he putting pressure on rotation throughout the whole race in the sprint race, so can he mount the challenge once again and keep him under massive pressure yet again? Good battles between those two. Hope to see some more in this race. Jack in P6, he was retired from the Monaco Grand Prix, so let's hope he can make amends and score some good points here. Starting P6, Sieb finished on the podium last week. Can he repeat the same thing? Who knows what will happen here? And Nathan JP didn't have the best of races, make contact with Het Bompje in the tunnel, and that's what cost him his race. AJ, who hit Raskas, and that cost him his chance of a podium because he lost his front wing end plate and caused him to go to the pit lane. Supermug, wow, he made aggressive moves on Carl, and yeah, didn't have the best finishing position. Resify, who got front wing damage early stages in the race at the Monaco Grand Prix. He qualified on pole position, but had to make an early pit stop and change his front wing, and that's what cost him the race. And his teammate eventually won out in the end. Het Bompje, well, plenty of things happened to Het Bompje. He made contact with Nathan under the tunnel and just couldn't get his race underway, but still scored some decent points. ERO Ken, who spent most of his time behind a Mercedes, behind a Haas, and once again he's found himself in that position. In QRT Leroy, we didn't see much of in Monaco anyways as well. Yuri, I don't think he turned up in Monaco like Nelly Safu. Either Liam, I think he was he at the Monaco Grand Prix last week?
Who was again, sorry?
Liam in P17.
Liam, no, he wasn't. Same for Aurelian. Aurelian wasn't at the Monaco Grand Prix last week as Leo was driving, who isn't here today. So quite a mix up, to be honest. If you can quickly get the tires up.
Chivu, yeah.
If I quickly interrupt you, everyone is starting on the hard tires here, so no alternative strategy here today. Everyone wants to stick within the DRS window, as it's such a crucial one here to stick within the 1 second window.
Nobody deciding, even down in the midfield there, to go on the medium compound tyres. It's the hard other way to go around here at the Paul Ricard circuit, and we are underway once again there for the French GP. It looks like Aurelie's got a really good start for the line. It's alongside Walter then as he pulls into the lead of this race, and as it goes side by side going into turn number 1 here, and Aurelie has the outside line which converts the inside line for the next corner. He takes a lot of the curve, but still goes side by side here with the Williams in P3 and Pi rotations in P5, but look, where's Troye gone? As Aurelie goes down the inside, once again at Walter, but Walter stays out on top, and later breaking his Chirufus has retired from the session. Aurelie is still trying to go around the outside, but you realise the straight's coming up, so we can out drag him all the way down to the heavy braking zone. But Troye is down in P17, and there's a massive gap as well that happened between P3 and P4, so I wonder what happened there between those guys. But Aurelie to the slipstream of Walter, but he's not using any ERS then, as the McLaren's gone off in the background of Nelly Safu. As we make our way down into turn 8 and turn 9, Walter stays ahead after all that battling further behind, but Troye has dissipated from the race. He's down to P16 as Liam is under massive pressure from Kyle. Kyle didn't have the best of sprint races. He pitted on the first lap of the race, but he's up into P14 as AJ's all over the back of Resify, who's been up into P7, so good start there, but is AJ about to make a move up the inside of the Ferrari driver? We're about to find out. Yes, he is going to go side by side then with Resify, but Resify still has the outside line, carries more speed, and he's able to stay in P7 then, surviving the threat from AJ. But that's the first lap for you. Aurelie versus Walter in the first few corners. What a battle that was, as Walter was able to stay ahead of Aurelie in P2, Pyro P3, rotation P4, and unfortunately for CPI Troye in P16. I have no idea what happened to him. He has a massive gap between P4 and P5 in the first few corners already, but looks like they've closed that up thanks to the battle between Walter and Aurelie, slowing them down again.
Indeed, interesting start here. Unfortunately, Jeroen had a slight incident there. I think he picked up some slight damage and actually retired on track here. He had a collision with probably one of the McLarens who was also at the back here, but they managed to keep going whilst Jeroen retired on track here. And now we're gonna see the DRS battle happening in front of us because everyone's stick within the 1 second window here, but Reservoir seems to be struggling a bit of pace here because he's already falling outside the 1 second window here of Seep, who is now in P6 here, following Nathan, who also had a great start here, starting in P8, now up to P5 here. Not sure what happened to Troye here, but he's all the way down in P16, trying to make his way up. And with no one on the alternative strategy here, it's going to make life difficult for him to make up many positions here.
You can see AJ pressurising the Ferrari Reservoir, not falling for that Reservoir and putting his car in the right places to keep AJ at bay. But like you said, the DRS train has split up because P7 is the second leader of this DRS battle. Reservoir from P7 all the way down to P14, then 7 drivers right behind him that he's provided the DRS train for. So he will struggle on the DRS with Reservoir unless he can get himself back in that DRS train with C-Raw Gamer. Can he hang on? But what happened to Jack as well? Because he started at P6 and now he's down in P15 and he's just pitted as well, mentioning him. So unfortunately for him, he's dropped back down the field. So Troye and Jack falling back. Could those two make contact in the first few corners? We'll find out after the race if they do provide footage or not. Oh, so Ferrari's gone for a spin, and that is Reservoir. I just saw in the foreground that the Ferrari was going sideways. Not the first time Ferrari went sideways, either Paul Ricard, Charles Leclerc last season, and Reservoir has dropped into P15, and guess who's behind him? His teammate, or in front of him, his teammate as well. So both Ferraris there had a shocker first few laps of this race and falling out the side of the points as well. So they've got a lot to make up in this race, but yeah, both Ferraris unfortunately suffering here in France. It's not, it is a difficult track. Turn 1 and turn 2 are so difficult as well. You've got to be very careful to those two corners because it's so easy to lose the rear end of the car. As Yuri's made a move on Reservoir, his tyres might be overheating just slightly after that slight spin there. Yuri's up into P15 with the helping hand of DRS at the back of that Ferrari, and he's moved himself up into P15, splitting both Ferraris. But yeah, both of them got a lot of work to do in this race.
Certainly, as Barrow is again very close to falling out the 1 second window of the top two here. The top two seems to be very similar in terms of pace here. Let me get the graphics up so you could know how much ERS everyone has. Wouter currently has about 76% ERS, whilst Aureli seems to be using a bit more throughout the race here. To try to keep up with Wout here. I think Aurelien is French, so I think it's his home Grand Prix. I'm not sure. Can you back me on that one, Jamie? Is Aurelien French?
I think so. It's his nationality on his flag that he put. Well, you know, Wilder did go for the South African flag. So, oh, there's an Alfa Romeo that just went off the track there. That was that turn 4. That was Leroy going very wide into that corner, and Superbug will be pounced on that very quickly. And we know he likes to make a lot of moves, optimistic moves, Superbug, like a young Max Verstappen would do as well. But yeah, Leroy stays on the track, but he has fallen outside the DRS range as Kenny has overtaken Bonpierre. Is Superbug fancy his chances down the inside? Nope, he waits, but Leroy has outbroke himself, and like Valtteri Bottas did in 2021, outbroke himself and allowed Sergio Perez to go. But it's Superbug going to make a move here. Is this right-hander? We go. Leroy goes to the right to defend. Let's go out to this flat-out right-hander. It should be with heavy fuel as well. Still flat-out. And it's definitely not flat-out in the rain. I know I've tried it before in the rain, but spawned a result in that. But Leroy keeps the Alpine at bay for the time being, but for how much longer? Because he's made a few mistakes here and then. Has Leroy, so we're going to keep it on the track. Has the Alfa Romeo driver. However, further behind, Kenny has overtaken Bonpierre. Be happy with that one because he was stuck behind the Haas for the majority of the race, was Kenny, and finally he's got him out of the way. And he got both Haas's behind him now. Be relieved of that one. And his next target is Supermug, but they're all in the DRS train, so it'll be very difficult to follow around here. Well, not follow, but overtake around here, must be said. We saw in the previous few races, well, seasons that around the French GP we saw a four-way battle for first place, and third and fourth they couldn't do anything about it. They could not fight each other because they were stuck in that DRS train. They had no way through. They just carried the same speed as each other down the straight, and there was just no way through. So yes, this French GP has proven to be that first and second is the best place to be, obviously, around this track as well, because it's just so difficult to try and find a way past. You're gonna force them into a mistake in the corners if you want to make an overtake, as it's proven to be. But Pyro has dropped outside the 1 second range of DRS, and now he's under big pressure from Rotation. Rotation aiming for a podium here, his first podium of the season in CRO. It's going well for him so far, and let's see how it all goes out in the end.
Totally agree with you there, Jamie. Bit disappointed with AJ right here, as he cleared Resify, who I think made a mistake there. He has not able to catch up with Seep here, and with the DRS being such a effective, being so effective for this Grand Prix, he loses so much time because of it. Because you can lose on the back straight at least 4 to 3 tenths alone just on the straight, which you're not gonna gain in the corners, as it's not really that difficult. Too many difficult corners around Power Car here, so it's gonna be tough for AJ here, especially with Leroy, Supermug, Ken, and Boompje, and Liam also following all here. So and he's now 2 seconds behind here. Seems managed to stick with it within the DRS window, but he's relying on Nave to stick within the 1 second window of Rotation, and Pyro here, who's starting to drop time slowly but surely here. So let's see how this race is gonna pan out.
And the top two will continue pulling away from Pyro or Reeling using the DRS off Walter. So Pyro then hasn't got the pace to match the top two, and going to keep an eye on Rotation behind him because he is so close. But talk about being close, he almost hit the back of him. He had to move out of the steer out the collision there because he was about to hit the back of him. But he stays in P4. Might have lost a bit of time from that, but the DRS will help him get back. But here comes Superbook then, both going side by side with Leroy. Goes to flat tire right-hander here, and looks like Superbook has got the edge slightly on Leroy. But Superbook has the inside line. They both make contact as Leroy getting squeezed out, and Superbook forces the Alpine to go up the inside, and he moves himself up into P8 then. So Superbook had his qualifying ban in the sprint race. Well, didn't lose too much time anyway because the guys behind him got disqualified. He was the first one disqualified because we saw it on the track, but the other guys invalidated their lap times. He's moved himself up into P8, so that was a good move there from Superbook. He forced him to that move, and he completed it going into the double right-hander, where there's quite a common overtake around there. It may not seem so, but I'll always love seeing the drivers go side by side through there. As Liam has overtaken Boompje, he moves himself up into P11 ahead of the Dutchman there. Oh, there's an Alpine who spun! And that is Supermug, and he's crashed. He has retired from this race, and I think that might cause a safety car, which it will do, and that'll bunch up the pack very nicely. I just saw him in the foreground there, just going off the track, but I didn't know he hit the wall. I thought he had plenty of runoff area because he looked like a slow spin, but yeah, the Alpine car hit the wall, and unfortunately he's lost his wheel, and he is out of this race. So is Jeroen as well.
Indeed, this is perfect for Jack here, who went into the pits, but didn't get his front wing changed because he went into the pits for a second time afterwards, where he did change his wing. But this is gonna be perfect, as this allows him to catch up to the pack here and rejoin this race here. So this is perfect for Jack here. This will not really change the race that much because everyone is on the hard tires here, but you could maybe see other guys outside the top 10 trying an alternative strategy, doing a double medium strategy here, for example, as they know all the guys ahead will have to make another pit stop here. So it wouldn't surprise me to see someone like Resify, Yuri, Nilu all making a stop for the medium tires, try to gain positions here, as Wouter's actually going to the pits here. Same for Rotation here. Aurelian has stayed out, Nathan is pitted, everyone's going into the pits here. So we're gonna see alternative strategies right here from people here. With Pyro and Aurelian staying out, so this race has definitely opened up quite a bit here.
I don't know what the positions are because I'm stuck on the yeah, the leaderboard times. I can't actually get out of it. It won't let me for some.
It's Aurelian in the lead with Pyro in second, Leroy now in third place, Ken in fourth place, Gal now in fifth place, Wouter, being the guy who pitted first, is now in sixth place. Rotation's meant to jump up now to seventh place with Nathan in eighth, Seep in ninth, AJ in 10th, Liam in 11th, Bonepit 12th, Troye 13th, Yuri 14th, Resfai 15th, Nilu 16th on the soft tires, interestingly, and then Jack trying to catch up all the way down in P17.
Oh, I can't actually get out. I can't even go back out of this lobby. So I'm gonna have to stop the stream, everybody. Make sure you all tune in when I restart the stream. Thankfully, the safety cars came out, but I'm very sorry.